it's an interesting observation to listen to the discussion between what I would call two sides in the belief on climate. And I'd like to ask each of you, and I'll start with you, Dr. Pelkey, has the Earth's climate and temperatures, has that been something that has changed historically since the creation of the world?
Yeah, there's long time series that go back thousands, millions of years showing vast changes. However, the changes over the last century and a half have been judged to be largely driven by the accumulating greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. So that's not particularly controversial. What is controversial is what are the effects? When will we know them? I would disagree with Dr. McCracken that we can control weather with carbon dioxide emissions. There's no knob that says more extreme weather, less extreme weather. There's a lot of great reasons for reducing carbon dioxide emissions, but I don't think anyone should think we're going to stop hurricanes or floods or atmospheric rivers using that knob.
Mr. Martz?
I largely agree with Dr. Pilkey about that assessment pretty much entirely. I do agree that obviously the planet has gone through all sorts of ebbs and flows throughout its 4.5 billion year history. And obviously the Earth has gotten warmer over the last 100 years. And I do agree that most, I don't know how much of it is due to CO2 emissions, because CO2 is a greenhouse gas. The laws of physics are very clear on that. However, there is uncertainties, as I highlighted in my testimony here. And this is something that some of the scientists who work very closely on this, one of them is Dr. Roy Spencer at the University of Alabama in Huntsville. He's the science team leader on one of NASA's satellites that measures the radiation flows in and out of the atmosphere. I know him very well.
Yeah. Mr. Martz, I only have a short amount of time.
So obviously the natural energy flows in and out of the Earth's atmosphere.
Right, but that's not controlled by man. I mean, did man create the Ice Age?
No.
Yeah, right. So none of us were alive back then to know for sure. Dr. McCracken, do you believe that the world has seen climate changes since the creation of the world?
Well, I'd say I'm convinced by the evidence that has happened, yes.
Yeah, thank you. I'd also like to ask you all if you believe that people, regular people, the American people, and people all over the world, do they have the God-given right to clean air, clean water, clean crops, or should governments and for-profit businesses and then scientists be allowed to override ordinary people, citizens of the United States, and spray all types of chemicals into the air, whether it's from the ground or in the sky? Who has a God-given right over that? Dr. Pilkey.
Yeah, that's in my testimony. That's why I called for enhanced oversight and regulation. I have this old-fashioned view. I'm a political scientist by training, that the government is the people. And if we start talking about the government being separate from the people, then something's messed up out there. And so I would much rather see people, normal people, feel like the government belongs to them and that they are one and the same.
The government or clean air, clean skies, and clean land? Well,
the way we regulate and get clean air is we come together and work and call it government, call it whatever you want to call it. But there's no way to have clean air to regulate geoengineering unless people can come together and make decisions that this is in our common interest.
Right.
So.
Mr. Martz.
I agree with that sentiment as well. I think that there obviously needs to be stricter oversight and regulation on some of these technologies and probably some more research into them. But I think that there should be, largely with Dr. Pilkey, a non-use agreement, especially on the solar geoengineering aspects of it. And as a final point, yes, people should have a right to, to clean air, clean water, and all of that.
Dr. McCracken.
Yes, of course they should, and there's actually a lawsuit of the youth trying to ensure that is something that the government does to make sure that there is clean air, clean water, and a healthy climate.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with that. I just want to point back to a government-funded project that was in a government housing where in St. Louis, Missouri, where the U.S. Army sprayed some sort of chemical fog over these people, basically making them lab rats in an experiment. And that's how people feel today about all types of weather modification and geoengineering. No one wants to be a lab rat. And I appreciate your comments where we only have one Earth. one Earth, and we really honestly should be taking care of that.
The Republicans have been so busy protecting pedophiles and rapists that they forgot what this subcommittee is supposed to be about. We're supposed to be talking about improving government efficiency. We're supposed to be talking about protecting taxpayer dollars from corruption. But congressional Republicans have led the most corrupt administration in American history run wild. Republicans have turned the United States government into the world's largest Ponzi scheme. And it isn't surprising that corruption is rampant in this administration because, well, we know who the president is. It's actually been 84 days since our last hearing. The chairwoman could have called a hearing about how this is the weakest hiring market since 2017, and we all know who the president was in 2017. We could have had a hearing on how Donald Trump's illegal tariffs are increasing the cost of living for their constituents. We could have had a hearing on why the Bureau of Prisons is accommodating human traffickers like Ghislaine Maxwell. We could have had a hearing on how the president is using the office to enrich himself and his family and friends. We could have had a hearing on how this administration is illegally stealing more than $400 billion in congressionally directed funds, but they'd rather distract you from the fact that their constituents are likely to die from their decision to cut health care and SNAP before some chemtrail conspiracy. The Republicans don't care about their constituents suffering from anything. They've been railing against the American people for the last 9 months, and they've been doubling down. Taking your health care wasn't enough. They've attacked Americans' housing. They've attacked Americans' food and child care assistance, and they've attacked Americans' environmental protections. They're letting the oil companies and big data companies write their energy and environmental policies. These policies not only lead to sicker people, they also lead to dirtier water, more polluted air, and increased utility bills. And we know that these policies will disproportionately impact Black and brown communities around the country. So, Dr. McCracken, the Trump administration has dismantled agencies, fired scientists, defunded research, and is defunding universities. Do these actions disincentivize institutions from engaging in research and deter students wanting to work on climate science?
I would think the answer to that would be yes.
Thank you so much. And Dr. McCracken, wouldn't you agree that eliminating environmental research can have devastating impacts on communities, particularly Black and brown communities, which are often located in highly industrialized areas?
Yes, I agree, and I might just say during the national assessment, that was one of the issues we tried to address by having some of the historically Black colleges be looking at the assessment of climate change and its significance in the Gulf Coast region.
I think that we can't have a hearing like this unless we settle on some basics. One of those basics being that climate change is real. Whether or not any individual has accurately predicted exactly the day or how bad it's going to be and when is one thing. But the reality is that as I was listening in, while I wasn't physically here, I was tuned into the hearing, I will say that even the Republican witnesses admitted that we are heating up. So the question is, what is it that we need to do to actually turn the heat down? Unfortunately, it seems like this administration's decision has been to defund any and everyone that actually could work on saving us, because we don't know what will happen if this daggone planet, and yes, it's more than the United States, heats up to a ridiculous amount. I can tell you that other countries acknowledge that climate change is real and that we have real work to do, and it is within the science realm instead of the conspiracy realm. And thank you. With that, I will yield.